For those of you who don't know Corinna's been in the club for about 12 years. She's done 2 marathons, a whole bunch of triathlons, including 2 Ironmans, both in Austria and in Barcelona. She has done 10k swims, she has done the ice mile. She was the first woman in Ireland to be both an ice mile swimmer and an Ironman. And if that wasn't crazy enough, last year she swam all the way from Ireland to Scotland. The North Channel swim is 35-kilometre swim, and if you think this weather looks nice, I can promise you it wasn't like this the whole way around. Just check out this weather.
Is it hard to change your stroke after years of swimming?
Yeah, it can be. But I think if we use the winter and your pool time, slow it down and kind of keep at things. Like even I'm still trying to concentrate on things. For a few weeks I was trying to change my stroke and I just felt I was making a hames of it. So I just went back and focused on one or two other, I was trying to tweak too many things. So I focused on one or two and now I feel I'm back in my groove and happier for it. But yeah, it does take time to change something. But if you're prepared to do it, then you just give it the time. And I'd always say, like, don't go in and try to correct everything. Go in today and focus on, say, your hand position, entering and exiting the water. And then tomorrow maybe focus on kick. And, don't give yourself too many things to do. Just pick them, or even swim 100 meters and think of that one thing for 25 meters and just, keep bringing yourself back to it. Like, okay, did I do that? Did I do that? Then kind of forget about it for a minute. And then slowly it should start becoming your natural habit then. Well, that's the way I look at it anyway. So, yeah.
And like roughly, obviously, it's different for everyone, but in general, how long does it take for something to become a habit? Having changed, I've made that change and been consciously thinking about it for a while. How long does it take for that just to become muscle memory?
Well, it could be like 6 weeks, if you're dedicated and focused, you want to be in the pool 3 or 4 times a week. The more time you give it, the more quicker it'll happen. Whereas if you're kind of sporadically going in, oh, I'll go in this week twice and next week I'll get there once, and then you're racing through your sets, you're not going to benefit from it. So, kind of slow and steady. Yeah, that kind of way.
Okay, that leads us nicely on to the next question, actually. So if I want to do my first sprint triathlon, how many times a week should I be swimming?
Well, I would have said, if your swimming is the weakest element of your triathlon, well, then you should be doing, say, 3 sessions there. So they usually say 2 bike, 2 swim, 2 run. So then whatever your weakest part is, do a third one of it. So for me, when I was doing Ironman, I would have loved, happily jumped into the pool all the time or into the sea and given it like 4 sessions a week. But my run was my weakest part. So I was like, I have to get out and practice a little bit more on the running. So that's where I would say, yeah, if it's your weakest element, then definitely try and get in 3 times a week. Do a long one, do a technical one, and then do one for kind of an enjoyment, or possibly even try and do one just before you go out on your bike. So
okay.
For me, that would have been, a Wednesday morning I would have went swimming, and then I would have went out straight off onto the bike for an hour and a half, because then you're getting that feeling of what it feels like to straight off your swim into a bike if you're going triathlon. So you have to remember to train that discipline too.
That's a good point. So when you say like a technical one, so let's say someone's doing coaching, like a coach swim, like Monday night in Wicklow or Thursday night in Greystones or Wednesday morning. Would you count that as their technical one, and then what would the other 2 be?
Yeah, I would count that as your technical one, because there's a coach standing over you, and if they'll notice something, they'll say it to you, or they'll try and tweak it. And then say that's Monday night. Then Wednesday, get in and swim for, a long set, maybe do a 2K, but a kind of an enjoyment at a moderate pace. And then another one, then you could have if you could get to a pool before a Saturday spin or something, or if you're doing another second cycle somewhere, like on a Sunday morning, maybe get to the pool for half an hour beforehand. It doesn't have to be excessively long, but just, you know, try to get that feeling of, okay, that's my swim done now, I'm going to go out on the bike.
Great.
Use it like a warm-up.
I don't know how to approach the next one. Okay, so the next one is obviously a little bit targeted. And I don't know how seriously you want to take it. But I see older swimmers like Dr. Dan swimming snorkels for everything. Is there benefit, or is this just an age thing?
So my reply to this is, because I think I know who put it in, I heard that this person was actually moved down a lane in his swimming. So I think he could learn a couple of things from Dr. Dan. A snorkel can take a little bit of time to get used to. A lot of people use it for different reasons. If you've kind of a little bit of an injury on your neck or a stiff neck and you kind of don't want to be aggravating it, swim away with the snorkel is great. It took me a little bit of time to get used to it. I had a nose clip at my nose because the water kept going up. But once you kind of get over that, it can be really useful. Forces you to keep your head straight. Corrects it from wandering, which we might tend to do when we get going on our swimming. You actually probably swim a little bit faster because you're not having to stop to breathe or turn your head. Increase the feel for the water. Great for kick sets as well if you want to focus on your kicking. And there was one other thing I'd written down as well. Oh yeah, and balance it as your stroke. So I would tend to have my left arm kind of goes out a bit. So when I put the snorkel on, I'm really kind of focusing on that it's, you know, on the correct line that I'm trying to work on. But yeah, it's loads of advantages. So Dr. Dan's doing great.
How do you use your lats more to increase power? Any particular drills, techniques? Thanks, Corinna.
I'd say to practice that even on land first. So if you tied a band to maybe a door handle, I'm going to send Michael a video actually so that we can show this as well. And even, yeah, it's kind of hard to describe. So fingers lower than your wrist is lower than your elbow. So when you're going for that catch, then you'll engage your lat in the back. But if you do some band work on both sides, right and left, and then possibly try both bands at the same time. If anybody's been watching as a Brent Ford, he calls it the power diamond under the water. So yeah, if you get that position, you should be able to feel it in your lats, and you'll know when you're doing it right and when you're doing it wrong. Or even if somebody's in the house with you or whatever, get them just to press on your lats as you engage that catch. You'll definitely notice it. Because when I've done it to people, they go, "Oh yeah, that's the muscle that I'm supposed to be working on." But yeah, we'll send in a video and some band work, so make it easier to understand.
Brilliant. Kind of follow-up question. I'm going a bit off script here. So I know from following you on social media that you also are doing a fair bit of gym work on top of the swim work. So what are the kind of gym session or the workouts or the activities in the gym that people can do that would help transfer into their swim stroke?
They can do some pull-ups if they've got access to the gym. I kind of do my strength and conditioning at home, so I have a bench at home. Doing some deadlifts, some squats, and when it comes to my shoulders, I'm not excessively heavy loading on weights. Like I've got 16 kg kettlebells. I'm not chest pressing or I'm not push pressing those, because at the end of the day, I just want my shoulders to be injury free rather than adding it on. So I remember working with a coach a few years ago, and he gave me the TYI, but I was literally only lifting the 2 kg weights, and he said, "Do not lift any more of this. These are small little muscles that I want you to focus on. So your TYI, and probably do 10 reps of them." But he said a small weight, you know, you don't have to be the hero that's lifting 6 to 10 kgs doing your TYIs. Yeah, so keep that weight light. Because you're just trying to protect your shoulders as well. You want to use the strength and conditioning to prevent the injury. So yeah, those kind of things.
What are the biggest differences between pool swimming and open water swimming? Do you need to swim differently?
Well, you need to, if it's a little bit choppier, you'll definitely have to get your arm up over the waves. So you'll have to adjust your stroke that way. You don't have a lovely black line to follow as you do in the pool. I wouldn't be advising you follow somebody else's feet either. You don't know if they don't know the course. So you have to sight for your open water swims. So if you're in Greystones and you're swimming, always swim parallel to the shore. That's another thing. But if you get in and you're swimming south, so if you look at the big tree down in Greystones, that's every time, say every 6th or 7th strokes, if you sight, look for that tree, it'll keep you on a straight line. When you've done your 500 meters and you're turning to return, then you've got, I think it's at St. David's School or just thereabouts. You're sighting for that on the return. It'll keep you close to shore and it should keep you in a straight line. So fighting for something, keep yourself swim parallel to the shore is definitely more things than swimming on the blue line in shoreline or in Carroll. If you want to practice your sighting in the pool, put your bottle at the shallow end, swim to the deep end, standard, and then swimming from the deep end to the shallow end, maybe try and sight 3 times and see, can you see your bottle? I think I've done that sometimes in the sessions and I've moved people's bottles and I was like, where is it now? Like just to make sure that you're actually looking for that rather than, it's the same as looking for a buoy. So yeah.
Yeah, I think John Doyle once did a how many fingers am I holding up kind of thing for sighting on time with us as well. Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, and like I remember saying this to somebody, the tide will change and current. So the more you swim at the same place, the better you get to know it. Because I remember saying to somebody, it's like, oh, we've got high tide this week. Last week was low tide. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, the tide changes. So like in Greystones, if it's high tide, you mightn't necessarily notice it. But, like if the water is deeper, because I know in Greystones, there's a bit of a drop off. Where in Bray, we kind of, if it's low tide, we can walk out far enough and then swim. So yeah, just know your beaches, and if they do have those drop offs, just to be careful on a low tide day.
Okay. Somewhat related. Thoughts on trying to develop breathing to both sides when you've always been one-sided?
I think that's like a dig at me. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, I will hold my hand up and say I only breathe to my right. I can breathe to my left on the other occasion. But yeah, again, it's like practice. What I was saying earlier, slow the stroke down and take time to learn to breathe to both sides. It'd be better balance for your stroke. I think I'm just so used to swimming and coaching and demonstrating that I constantly do it to my right, and I've just gotten into a habit. I also feel as well, I bring my head back to the center. I've seen people maybe only breathe to one side and they end up kind of staying on one side a little bit. So that's where the imbalance, where if you breathe to both sides, you'll have a better balance. But yeah, do as I say, not as I do, as I say.
We kind of touched on this earlier, but what other sessions do you do in a week apart from swimming, and how important do you rate these sessions?
So this year I've been swimming 20k a week because the swim is 20k. Last year I was probably swimming 30 to 35k. So yeah, trying to get in the strength and conditioning, definitely try and get in 2 sessions. I actually went back out with the Saturday spins last 2 Saturdays, so trying to get back out on the bike. Trying to do a little bit more running if I can, which I kind of hate, but I'll try and make the effort to get out at least once or twice. A good bit of walking. But yeah, trying to use the bands as well and foam roll. They're things that they're important as well as your strength conditioning. A bit of yoga if you can get it, if you have time. And then oh yeah, another thing is sleep is important too. So if you can get to bed early, to get up early. So I kind of go through phases where sleep can be patchy, so it's harder to get up in the mornings, but we still make the effort to get up. But yeah, if I can plan to be in bed for 10, then it's easier then to get up at 5:45. But yeah, it's another element that people kind of forget, and they wonder then why they're either sick or tired and can't get through the day. So yeah, sleep is as important as hitting all your training sessions.
Okay, this is quite a technical one. What point in relation to the hand-arm position in the water is best to start the movement to be ready to take a breath?
yeah, so it's kind of hard to explain on here, but I'll add in a video. So your fingers are lower than your wrist is lower than your elbow. As that's coming down, your fingers are pointing towards the ground. I'd say to like beginners to start looking at your hand, and as your hand is going past you, then follow it and start turning your head. Turn your head at, even if your hands come out of the water, look up like you're looking at your hand. Temple is in the water. Take your breath, and then it's back in. Just even start at that point. So you're using your hand as a guide as it's pulling through under the water. So every third or fourth stroke, as it's coming down, you're like looking at it, looking at it, looking at it. Naturally, your head will turn, take your breath, and then straight back in. Then you can tweak it then after that if you want to be more specific, but you are trying to make this pocket beside you that's you're going to be able to grab air and then get back in. But that would be the simplest form, just to get people in that motion of turning with your stroke.
Do you adapt your swim stroke based on the distance you're swimming?
Well, if it's going to be, say, your sprint, your 750, it's going to be fast. Because it's a short period and you can go at a higher rate for a shorter distance. Then if you're going to do your Ironman distance, slow it down to try and settle into a nice rhythm. And then you're going to do a channel. For me, it's just slow and steady wins the race. So I just kind of get into a groove and have that nice long glide. It's kind of like conserving energy, but you're still moving forward. So yeah, I don't consider myself a fast swimmer. I just enjoy it and kind of relax in the water. I feel if you're not relaxed in the water, sometimes you have that tension and it just makes it harder. So the more relaxed you are, it can progress it. And yeah, but my stroke would be quite a long and glide stroke. Yeah.
How do you sight or stay on course when doing cross channel swim when you can't see land or anything to sight?
Well, that's kind of like the pilot's job. So they're picking the best route for you to swim. They'll have asked, what kind of speed you are at the beginning, and then they'll pick and navigate for you. So you're kind of swimming alongside the boat. So I'm not necessarily sighting for anything, although I do think Lisa told me to stop looking forward a few times. It's just out of habit. When you're swimming open water, you do kind of tend to look forward to see, what am I looking at? And then, yeah, so the pilot's always there to guide you, and you're staying as close as possible to the boat and not too close either, because if you touch the boat, that's it, game over. There was a point where I was kind of swimming at the back of the boat, and then I was inhaling all the fumes. I was kind of a bit sickening. Then I was up the front of the boat, which was grand for the pilot. He could see me at all times, but I was struggling to see where they were, and I was trying to look back as I was breathing. So I do think Lisa had said, look, she needs to be on the left, so to try and be in line with the boat. There was a few times I kind of drifted off, as in I just took my own course, and they just had to call me back. But yeah, majority of the time you're probably about 2 or 3 meters away from the boat. So yeah, they're doing all the work and you're just following them as well.
This potentially controversial one. In your opinion, what's the best open water swim spot in Wicklow and in Ireland and also abroad?
I'd always say, what's the most accessible one to you? So there's no point in, say, living in Greystones, but driving to Bray to go for your swim, go down to Greystones. But my preference would be Bray. I've been swimming there for years. I know it like the back of my hand. I know where the seaweed is. I know, so it's all those points. Where is it abroad? I've swam in a few different places. Nothing like Malta. There's been Greece. There's just loads of places. Wherever the water is as clear as day, you can see the fish swimming under you. I've swam in, what is it? The blue hole, the blue hole in Egypt. Is it? Yeah. So that was really nice. Swam in Australia. So there's loads of places. I can't just pick one, but for one here, I would say Bray, anywhere along the East Coast. But I wouldn't be going any further than the 40-foot for Dublin. It just gets a bit manky.
Okay. So Bray
That's just
is good.
my personal point. Yeah,
and a good ad for the Aquathon series later this year as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So this one is very specific. 3K swim event in May while 5 months pregnant. Good idea. Nervous about training in the cold water during March, April, during early pregnancy. Last dip was in October.
Well,
Obviously,
first of all, I'd
you
like
know
to
a thing or
say,
two about cold water.
yeah. Well, congratulations to the person that's pregnant. It's exciting times ahead. I'd also consult with your doctor. That'll be the next stage, and make sure that everything is okay for you. What I would say is, if the last time you were in the sea in October and your first time is getting back in March, think of what that's going to be like for you alone. So you're going to be kind of chilly and cold. You might get the shakes after it, whether you're wetsuit or non-wetsuit. So then if you're putting a baby into that as well, it can affect your blood pressure. And I'd just be a bit nervous of that for the baby side. If it was, say, the race was in September and it was the same kind of time frame, then it might be easier to get into that into the water that it's not so cold. But yeah, I'd check with your doctor first, and just take your time with it. Make sure that everything is prepped for getting changed. So your clothes are ready, you've got warm water, you've got a warm drink, something sugary as well. And just make sure somebody's there with you, just in case that, because like even people that aren't pregnant have come out of the sea and feeling a bit sick and a bit woozy, and that's just the cold. Um, there was one other thing I'd written down as well. Oh yeah, and like if you do go for your swim or that race, possibly get in at the back of the race so you have more space. You're not going to get kicked by anybody. Sometimes people do tend to stop and do a little bit of breaststroke, and next thing you've got, a breaststroke leg in the way. So yeah, just mind yourself, and enjoy it if you can as well.
So we talked a little bit earlier about obviously the long distance swimming. So one question here is what challenge is next in your list after your amazing achievements conquering the channel?
So yeah, North Channel is done, and now I want to finish the Triple Crown. So that consists of the North Channel, Fastnet Lighthouse, and Galway Bay. So Fastnet Lighthouse is a 20K swim. So you either swim to the lighthouse or from the lighthouse down in Cork, and from Baltimore. So I won't know until close to the time, depending on the tides, currents, and the weather conditions, which way you'll go. A little bit like the north, you could have been swimming from Scotland back to Ireland, or from Ireland over to Scotland. So yeah, looking forward to that. That's in the middle of June. And then somewhere along the way, hopefully we'll get to do Galway Bay. And once the three of them are ticked, then I've got the Triple Crown. So I'd be quite excited to get that done.
And when you say somewhere along the way, do you mean this year, next year?
I would hope
Depends on
to
the
get it
tides.
done this year. Yeah, I'd hope to get it done this year. As somebody else pointed out to me, if I got it done before September, that would mean I would have completed the Triple Crown in the full calendar, September to
Oh
September
yeah.
in a year. So I was kind of going, yeah, that'd be cool too. So that's that's kind of niggling at me as well, kind of going, get that done before September, hopefully.
Any tips for stopping my goggles from fogging up?
um, so I used to put my goggles on a dry face. Dry goggles on a dry face might help. Or you could lick the lenses inside them. It's not the nicest thing to do, but it sometimes works. Or there is anti-fog goggle spray, a squirt in each lens, give it a couple of seconds and then rinse it out. Or the squirt of the anti-fog, put it in, I carry my goggles in a case. So squirt it in the lens and then leave it in it until the next time you're swimming. You can rinse it or not, it depends. And baby shampoo does the same. So watered down baby shampoo, a little drop in each eye. Sorry, the goggles, not your eyes. Yeah, and just make sure that it's definitely rinsed out. But it does, whatever is in the baby shampoo does kind of seal it again. And it doesn't fog up as much. Also then question as well, like how do you care for your goggles? Do you just, are they like 6 months old and are they scratched? I hate seeing people stick their fingers in and do this on the inside, because I'm kind of going, you're scratching the film that's in it. So just dip them in the water and shake them. Um, So yeah, it's like, how do you care? Do you want to just throw them in a bag, or do you put them in a case? If you have time, I know people are always in a rush and you just chuck them in the bag. But yeah, I do feel you get a little bit longer out of your goggles if you look after them.